And as we wrap up the big retail results for this earnings season, we have to look back at the trends and what they tell us about the consumer. When you look at the same-store sales growth for the quarter of a lot of retailers, they saw declines, with just a few posting some gains. Some received praise for their results just because their declines weren't as bad as investors thought they would be. Of the companies that did see year-over-year sales growth, and here were some interesting ones. Abercrombie and Fitch shocking the markets. They saw a huge bump, up about 13%. Yahoo Finance executive editor Brian Sozzi spoke with the retailer's CEO, Fran Horowitz, about this.
Yeah, so I would say the teen consumer is definitely more pressured. That's what we started to see, last year and still seeing it today. But the consumer is shopping, and they're going to continue to shop. They're just making choices on who they're shopping with, and they're choosing our brand.
So we've seen that consumers continue to spend, just not on big ticket items. We saw it in retail sales last week, which surprised everyone with how much people are shopping. So let's bring back in Steve Sosnick, Interactive Brokers chief strategist. They're still shopping, but they're being a little bit more picky or choosy about where they're placing value in their purchases right now, clearly.
Perfect way to lead into that. Yes, it's exactly what I think we're seeing. Remember, the consumer is still 2/3 of the economy, and so we really have to be concerned with what consumers are doing. But people have jobs, right? The unemployment rate is flirting with record lows, and so those who want a job have one. And when people have jobs, they can and do spend money. But I think people are getting a bit more nervous. They're a bit more cautious. Remember, call it a third of the country is dealing with energy bills that they've never had to deal with before. That's got to come from someplace. A huge segment of the population is going to have to start paying their student loan payments again, which that money's got to come from someplace. And so as a result, I think consumers have the money to spend. They are spending, but they're being very selective. And I think also there's a very big value proposition in where they're spending it. You saw Walmart same-store sales increase, TJ Maxx same-store sales increase, kind of at the expense of Target, which was better than feared, but still down. And Abercrombie, was a big winner. I'm too old and too heavy to shop there, but footwear stocks got, the younger consumer with a little money in his or her pocket is going to Abercrombie. They're not going to Foot Locker. They're not buying Nikes this time around. Fashion moves in cycles, and I do think what we're seeing is caution, not concern. But some of but we did really punish some of the losers, a lot of the broadline retailers. When you think about Macy's and I know Brian Sozzi's favorite, Kohl's.
How do we bring all this back to the inflation picture? Because you think about the overall retail sales number that we got was that 2 weeks ago now was a blowout. Then you have all these really choppy retail numbers. You would think with a hot retail sales number that would have negative implications for inflation in terms of not allowing it to abate as much. But of course, as always, it's murkier now that we've got all the individual ones. So how do we factor all that in?
I think this is the kind of thing that Powell is going to allude to tomorrow, is that the consumer is healthy. They're spending their money. It does allow some certain segments to pass along price increases, which does fuel inflation. And so the cautious consumer, a cautious consumer doesn't mean the consumer's gone away. It just means they've changed the mix of their spending, and they're trying to spend it more on staples. But we really haven't heard from, let's say, the consumer goods companies saying that they're cutting prices. They may not have this quarter. They may not have passed along as many price increases as they did the prior quarter. But you didn't hear of anybody saying, demand stinks. We're going to have to start cutting. And so until or unless that happens, or until or unless they say, we cannot raise prices, you have to assume that they at least will try until it's proven otherwise.